Wow. Pretty happy.
I'm 99. I delivered 2,000 babies when hospitals refused black women. I am 99 years old. My name is Granny Pearl Washington, and I need to tell you about the 2,000 babies I delivered over 50 years when hospitals in Alabama refused to let black women through their doors. I need to tell you about the mothers I saved when doctors said they weren't worth saving. I need to tell you about bringing life into this world when the world said that black life didn't matter. For half a century, from 1945 to 1995, I was the only midwife serving 3 counties in rural Alabama. When a black woman went into labor, she didn't call 911. She called Granny Pearl. When complications arose that could kill both mother and baby, she didn't rush to the hospital. She trusted her life to these old hands and the wisdom passed down through generations of women who knew how to bring babies safely into this world. I delivered 2,000 babies. I lost 3 mothers and 11 babies in 50 years. The hospitals that refused to treat my mothers during that same period had maternal death rates 5 times higher for the black women they occasionally admitted. They said I was practicing medicine without a license. They said I was dangerous. They said I was keeping my people from getting proper medical care. But when your people are dying because proper medical care refuses to treat them, you do whatever it takes to keep them alive. Today, I want to tell you how traditional midwifery saved thousands of lives when modern medicine failed us, and why the knowledge I carry is more important now than ever before. I was born in 1925 in Pike County, Alabama, during a time when being black and pregnant was a death sentence in many parts of the South. The nearest hospital was 40 miles away in Montgomery, and they had a policy: no Negroes except in cases of extreme emergency, and only then if they could pay in cash up front. Most black women couldn't make that journey or pay those fees. So they gave birth at home, often with no help except from female relatives who might know something about childbirth, or they didn't give birth at all. They died trying. My grandmother, who everyone called Big Mama, was one of the traditional midwives who served our community. I watched her deliver my first cousin when I was 7 years old, and I knew right then that I wanted to do what she did, help bring babies into the world. Big Mama started teaching me when I was 10. She showed me how to feel the baby's position through the mother's belly, how to know when labor was progressing normally, how to help turn a breech baby, how to stop bleeding after birth. Most importantly, she taught me how to stay calm when things went wrong, because panic kills more mothers and babies than complications do. "Pearl," she used to say, "birthing is the most natural thing in the world. Women been having babies since Eve had Cain and Abel. Your job ain't to deliver the baby. Your job is to help the mother deliver her own baby. The woman's body knows what to do. You just help it along." By the time I was 16, I was assisting Big Mama with difficult births. By 20, I was delivering babies on my own. When Big Mama died in 1947, the community looked to me to take her place. I was 22 years old and scared out of my mind, but I had no choice. If I didn't help these women, nobody would. The first baby I delivered alone was Mary Johnson's 3rd child. Mary went into labor on a Tuesday night during a thunderstorm. The roads were flooded, and even if they hadn't been, Mary couldn't afford the trip to Montgomery General. Her husband, Thomas, rode his mule 6 miles through the storm to get me. When I got to Mary's house, I could tell immediately that something was wrong. The baby was breech, bottom first instead of head first. This was exactly the kind of complication that killed women in home births. Big Mama had taught me how to handle breech births, but I'd only assisted her. never done one alone. I had two choices: try to turn the baby and risk both their lives, or let them both die. There was no choice at all. I spent 4 hours carefully manipulating that baby, talking to Mary, keeping her calm, praying to God to guide my hands. At dawn, little Samuel Johnson came into the world healthy and breathing. Mary recovered completely. Thomas cried when he saw his son. "Granny Pearl," he said, "you saved my family. How can I ever repay you?" I told him the same thing I told everyone. Just take good care of that baby and raise him right. That's all the payment I need. Word spread quickly through the black communities in 3 counties. If Granny Pearl could turn a breech baby and save both mother and child, she could handle any birth. Women started calling for me from further and further away. Soon I was delivering babies from Pike County to Montgomery County to Bullock County. But success brought new challenges. The more babies I delivered, the more attention I attracted from white authorities, who didn't like the idea of a black woman practicing what they considered medicine. In 1950, the state health department sent an inspector to investigate my illegal medical practice. Dr. Harrison was a thin, condescending man who looked at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe. "Miss Washington," he said, "I understand you've been delivering babies without proper medical training or licensure. This is a serious violation of state health codes." I looked him right in the eye and said, "Dr. Harrison, I've been delivering babies for 3 years. I've had no maternal deaths and only 1 infant death, a baby born with severe heart defects who lived 3 days. What's your hospital's maternal mortality rate for Negro women?" His face got red. "That's not the point. You're practicing medicine without a license." "I'm helping women who can't get medical care anywhere else," I said. "If your hospitals would admit black women, maybe they wouldn't need me. These women should seek proper prenatal care and hospital delivery." "With what money? At which hospitals?" "The only hospital in Montgomery that admits Negroes requires a $50 cash payment up front, and most of my mothers don't see $50 in a year." Dr. Harrison threatened to have me arrested if I continued practicing midwifery. I told him to do what he thought was right, but that I was going to do what I knew was right. He never came back. I think even he understood that arresting the only person providing maternal care to black women in 3 counties would look bad in the newspapers, even in 1950, but the threats made me more determined to learn everything I could about safe birthing practices. I ordered medical books through the mail, studied anatomy and physiology, learned about infection control and emergency procedures. I couldn't go to medical school, but I could educate myself. I also sought out other experienced midwives, traveling to Georgia, Mississippi, and Tennessee to learn from women who had been delivering babies for decades. Each one taught me something new: different techniques for difficult births, herbal remedies for common problems, ways to prevent and treat infections. Most importantly, I learned to recognize when a situation was beyond my abilities and required hospital intervention. Even though hospitals discriminated against black women, they couldn't legally refuse to treat someone who was dying. I developed relationships with a few sympathetic doctors who would accept emergency transfers from me, no questions asked. Dr. Sarah Mitchell was a young white doctor who had just finished her residency when she started working at Montgomery General in 1952. Unlike the older doctors, she didn't seem to care about the color of my patient's skin. She just wanted to save lives. The first time I had to transfer a patient to her was in 1953. Rosa Williams had been in labor for 2 days and the baby just wouldn't come. I could tell that both mother and child were in distress, and I knew I needed help. I called Dr. Mitchell and explained the situation. "Bring her in immediately," she said. "I'll meet you at the emergency entrance." When we arrived, some of the hospital staff objected to admitting a black woman without the usual paperwork and payment. Dr. Mitchell shut them down quickly. "This woman is in medical crisis," she said firmly. "We're treating her now, and we'll figure out payment later." Dr. Mitchell performed a cesarean section and saved both Rosa and her baby. After the surgery, she pulled me aside. "Miss Washington," she said, "I've reviewed your patient's condition and your preliminary care. You made exactly the right decision to transfer her when you did. Your assessment was completely accurate. That was the beginning of a partnership that lasted 20 years. Dr. Mitchell became my backup for complicated cases, and I became her window into the world of traditional midwifery. She learned from me that many modern medical interventions were unnecessary or even harmful, and I learned from her when modern medicine was truly needed. But for every Dr. Mitchell, there were dozens of medical professionals who saw me as a threat to their authority or an obstacle to progress. They couldn't understand that I wasn't trying to replace modern medicine. I was providing care for women who couldn't access modern medicine. The 1960s brought new challenges as the civil rights movement changed expectations about healthcare access. Younger black women began demanding admission to previously all-white hospitals, and some succeeded in getting better treatment. But many still couldn't afford hospital care, and others distrusted white medical institutions completely. I supported every woman's right to choose where and how she wanted to give birth. If she could afford hospital care and trusted the doctors there, I encouraged her to go. If she preferred traditional home birth, I was there for her. My job was to serve women's needs, not to judge their choices. Some of my most memorable deliveries happened during the height of the civil rights era. In 1963, I delivered the baby of a young woman whose husband was in jail for participating in the Montgomery bus boycott protests. She was alone, scared, and had no money for hospital care. "Granny Pearl," she cried during labor, "what if something happens to me? What if my baby grows up without a mother or a father?" I held her hand and said, "Honey, you're fighting for a better world for this baby. Your husband is fighting for that same world. This little one is going to be born into a family of warriors, and warriors take care of each other." That baby, Marcus, grew up to become a civil rights lawyer. His mother used to say that he got his fighting spirit from being born during the movement. The 1970s brought new challenges as medical malpractice lawsuits became more common. Insurance companies started pressuring midwives to stop practicing, and states began requiring more formal licensing and certification. Some traditional midwives gave up rather than navigate the new requirements. I decided to get formally certified. At age 50, I enrolled in a nurse midwifery program at Tuskegee Institute. It was humbling to sit in classrooms with women young enough to be my daughters, learning textbook versions of things I'd been doing for 25 years. But I also learned new things: modern understanding of infection control, better techniques for managing difficult labors, updated knowledge about nutrition during pregnancy. I graduated with high honors and became a certified nurse midwife in 1975. Certification changed my practice in some ways. I had to keep more detailed records, follow more protocols, work more closely with physicians. But it also gave me credibility that protected me from further harassment and allowed me to advocate more effectively for my patients. It also allowed me to start teaching younger midwives. Over the next 20 years, I trained 15 women in traditional midwifery techniques combined with modern safety protocols. Several of them went on to establish midwifery practices in other underserved areas. But certification couldn't change the most important part of my work, being present for women during the most vulnerable and powerful moments of their lives. Every birth was different. Every mother had her own story, her own fears, her own dreams for her child. I delivered babies for 3 generations of some families. I caught the babies of women whose own births I had attended. I watched children I delivered grow up, get married, and have children of their own. In many ways, I was grandmother to an entire community. Some births were easy and quick, others took days of patient waiting and careful monitoring. Some required all my skill and experience to prevent tragedy. Each one taught me something new about the miracle of birth and the strength of women. One of the most difficult births I ever attended was in 1978. Linda Carter was a 16-year-old girl who had hidden her pregnancy from her family until she went into labor. When her mother called me, panicked and angry, Linda was already in advanced labor with significant complications. The baby was not only breech, but also had the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck. This was exactly the kind of situation that could kill both mother and child if handled incorrectly. Linda was young, scared, and fighting against her own body instead of working with it. I spent 6 hours with Linda, talking her through each contraction, helping her understand that she needed to work with the labor instead of fighting it. Slowly, carefully, I maneuvered the baby into a better position and managed to deliver him safely despite the cord complication. Little David Carter was born healthy and strong. Linda, who had been terrified of motherhood, took one look at her son and fell completely in love. She went on to become a registered nurse and credited that birth experience with inspiring her to help other women. "Granny Pearl," she told me years later, "you didn't just deliver my baby, you delivered my life's purpose." By the 1980s, I was in my 60s and starting to feel the physical demands of midwifery practice. Being on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 40 years had taken its toll. I began thinking about retirement, but I was torn between my own needs and the community's continued reliance on my services. The decision was made for me in 1989 when I suffered a mild heart attack after a particularly difficult birth. Dr. Mitchell, who had become not just a colleague but a dear friend, insisted that I reduce my practice significantly. "Pearl," she said, "you've given your life to this community for 44 years. You've saved thousands of lives. But you can't save anyone if you kill yourself with exhaustion." I cut back to taking only the most high-risk cases and emergency calls. I focused more on prenatal care and education, teaching pregnant women how to have healthy pregnancies and prepare for childbirth. I also spent more time training the midwives who would carry on the work after I retired. My last delivery was on Christmas Eve, 1995. Sarah Thompson, whose mother I had delivered 30 years earlier, went into labor with her first child. It seemed fitting that my 50 years of midwifery should end where it began, helping the next generation bring life into the world. Little Jesus Thompson, yes, that was really his name, was born just after midnight on Christmas Day. He came into the world easily, as if he knew he was the last baby that these old hands would catch. I officially retired on January 1st, 1996 at age 71. The community threw me a retirement party that lasted 3 days. Over 500 people attended. Mothers I had delivered, babies I had caught who were now adults with children of their own, families whose lives I had touched over 5 decades. The mayor of Montgomery presented me with a key to the city. The state health department, which had once threatened to arrest me, gave me a commendation for my service to rural health care. But the gifts that meant the most were the photos, letters, and stories from the families I had served. Looking back now at 99, I'm proud of the work I did, but I'm also aware of how much still needs to be done. Black women are still 3 times more likely to die in childbirth than white mothers, even when controlling for income and education. The reasons have changed, but the results are often the same. Black women dying during what should be the happiest moments of their lives. Some problems are systemic: poverty, lack of access to quality prenatal care, but some are the same ones I faced 50 years ago. Medical providers who don't listen to black women, who dismiss their concerns, who don't treat their pain seriously. Traditional midwifery can't solve all these problems, but it can be part of the solution. The personalized care, the focus on prevention, the respect for women's experiences, these are things all women deserve. I trained 15 midwives over my career, and they trained others. There are now certified midwives working throughout Alabama who can trace their knowledge back to what I learned from Big Mama. The 2,000 babies I delivered are now adults with children and grandchildren of their own. They are teachers, nurses, mechanics, farmers, business owners. They are contributing members of their communities who might never have been born if their mothers had been left alone. Their mothers trusted me with their lives during their most vulnerable moments. That trust was the greatest honor and responsibility I ever carried. Young women today have choices my mothers never had. They can choose hospital births, home births with certified midwives, or birthing centers. Having choices is a gift that previous generations paid for with their lives. But having choices means taking responsibility for learning about them. If you're planning to have children, start preparing now. Take care of your health, learn about your body, build a support system. If you're pregnant, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Your intuition about your body matters. If something doesn't feel right, speak up. Choose healthcare providers who respect you as a person and listen to your concerns. Remember that giving birth is not just a medical event. It's a transformation. You become a mother. That transformation deserves to be honored, supported, and celebrated. I may have delivered 2,000 babies, but those mothers delivered their own children. I just had the privilege of helping them do what their bodies were designed to do. At 99 years old, I still get letters from some of those families. They tell me about graduations, weddings, grandchildren. The babies I helped deliver are now helping others in their communities. That's the real legacy of midwifery. Not just lives saved in the moment, but ripple effects that continue for generations. Every baby who lived goes on to touch other lives. I spent 50 years bringing life into the world when the world said black life didn't matter. I proved that black mothers could have safe births. Black women's knowledge could save lives just as effectively as any medical degree. I'm 99 years old and I'm still here to tell that story. The babies I delivered are living it. Their children and grandchildren are continuing it. Every birth is a miracle. Every mother is a hero. Every baby is a gift to the world. I just had the honor of helping make those miracles happen 2,000 times over.